A majestic, ornate ship sails across the sparkling blue sea. A vessel an onlooker notes is reserved only for the proper nobility. On board, 3 noble women express their disgust, with the woman in the green dress complaining that the ship smells so vulgar it makes her nose curl. Surveying the crowded deck, the women sneer, questioning how lowly, filthy rats could have possibly snuck aboard. As a woman with vibrant red hair approaches them, they exclaim how dirty, but she calmly replies that there seems to be a misunderstanding. With a confident smirk, the red-haired woman presents an elegant letter, declaring that she was formally invited to board. The woman in green remains unconvinced, insisting that even a real invitation doesn't change the fact that she is out of place, and her blonde companion agrees. Her jealousy showing, she accuses the red-haired woman of showing off by being escorted by the Marquis, a man who has famously never allowed any woman near him. How on earth did you win his favor, the noble woman demands, only to be met with the red-haired woman's smug and knowing, "Heh." A light brown-haired noblewoman gets in her face, accusing her of using unimaginable vulgar methods and declaring she is not a real noble. She then shoves the red-haired woman, ordering her to stay away from the Marquis. "That's right," the woman in green shouts, lunging forward to support her friend's aggression. Now holding the crumpled invitation, the woman in green sneers that she isn't qualified to be on the ship and orders her to jump off right now. Completely unfazed by the threats and humiliation, the red-haired woman simply smiles, calmly touching her chin in thought. Turning the tables, she asks what they mean by qualifications, her gaze settling on the green-dressed woman's rather eye-catching necklace. As she reaches for the jewel, the woman in green recoils, defensively boasting that her ruby necklace is worth 3 million G. "I see," the red-haired woman muses, thoughtfully beginning to repeat the necklace's supposed value with obvious sarcasm. Stepping back with theatrical flair, she suddenly declares, "In the first place, that's not a ruby," leaving the noblewomen utterly bewildered. "What nonsense are you talking about?" One exclaims, while another shouts, "You liar!" With a weary sigh, the red-haired woman explains that the gemstone is actually a red spinel, which closely resembles a ruby. She holds the necklace up to the light, demonstrating that, unlike a true ruby which shows 2 colors, this gemstone only shows 1, proving it's not the real thing. Smiling triumphantly, she states that the gem is worth only 1/10 of a ruby's price, and condescendingly adds that a true noble should have such discernment. Recalling their earlier words, she asks if the one who truly lacks nobility and should get off the ship is the one who can't even identify a gemstone. She spreads her arms wide by the railing, theatrically offering to help push the humiliated woman into the sea. Onlooking nobles begin to whisper amongst themselves, mocking the woman for being unable to tell the difference and calling her claim a lie. The tables have turned completely, and now the 3 women are the ones being called filthy rats who should hide away. Stumbling in humiliation, the woman in green shouts, "Excuse me," as she makes her hasty escape. The red-haired woman watches her retreat with a quiet, victorious smile. She thinks to herself that as someone who is not a genuine noble lady, she will do things her own way. The grand ship continues its stately journey across the sunlit ocean. Her expression becomes firm with resolve. As the narration explains, this is all to fulfill a certain goal. The story flashes back 12 years to a large, imposing mansion in the pouring rain, when a girl named Claire was just 6. A man stands over young, red-haired Claire, who has been knocked to the floor and lets out a pained, "Ah." Another man warns him not to let the dirty kid near, and a terrified little Claire whispers an apology. Dragging her across the floor by her hair, the man screams at her for entering the main house, viciously declaring she is not a servant but a filthy slave, before raising a hand to strike her. He looms over her, snarling that she was sold for a pittance, is lower than livestock, and must obey without question. Broken, she can only whimper, "Yes, I'm sorry." Hiding alone in the woods, she cries, wondering why she is always beaten, and if it's because she's a worthless slave. Looking to the sky, she desperately begs for someone to help her, when a soft "pew" answers her plea. She looks up to see a small, white, winged creature, a baby griffin, standing before her in the forest clearing. As she turns to walk away, the little griffin flaps its wings and determinedly follows her. Claire stumbles and falls to the grass, and the tiny creature immediately lands beside her. The griffin gently nuzzles her bruised arm, trying to offer comfort. She notices the creature is also hurt, yet it shows her such kindness, moving her to tears. Cradling the small griffin, she sobs that it is the only one who has ever been kind to her. From that day forward, whenever she faced hardship, she would escape to the forest to meet her gentle friend. A month later, Claire is stunned to learn she is going with her lord on his sea voyage, and asks in disbelief if that's truly okay. Her mind flashes to the high cost of the ship ticket, a price she can't comprehend. She is filled with self-doubt. wondering if it's really all right for a slave like her to go. Standing on the ship's deck, she looks out at the vast ocean for the first time in her life, whispering a breathless, "Wow." A simple, rugged ship cuts through the churning waves of the deep blue sea. Looking out at the vast ocean, young Claire sadly wishes she could have shown this view to Stella. Her head whips around at a sudden noise, and she wonders in shock if she just heard Stella's voice. Looking out at the sea again, she dismisses the thought, deciding she'll just tell Stella all about the journey when she returns. Elsewhere on a ship, a man with binoculars looks out at the sea and gravely remarks, "What a disaster." Through the binoculars, a group of men on another ship's deck are seen in a state of panic. A cry goes up that a monster has appeared in the sea, and a terrified Claire looks on in disbelief. Her blonde-haired lord frantically orders his men to hurry and search for Claire, calling out her name. Hearing her name, Claire takes a step forward, touched by the thought that they were worried about her. From a distance, she waves and calls out, "I'm here," to the blonde-haired man on the deck above. The blonde man's expression turns into a sinister smile as he thinks, "Thank goodness." We find the prey. The man who once abused her grabs Claire, sneering that to save themselves, she will become the monster's prey and has finally become useful. As the man carries a struggling Claire to the railing, she begs him to stop, screaming that she doesn't want to be prey. In the churning sea below, a man caught in massive tentacles screams for help, promising anything to be spared. Claire desperately pleads with her lord, but he coldly yells at her to shut up, declaring he doesn't care about a slave's life and ordering her thrown away. With a final "see you," the man hurls Claire overboard towards the waiting tentacles, as she's told to at least die peacefully. With a great splash, Claire is plunged into the cold, dark depths of the ocean. Sinking into the darkness, she wonders if she is truly fated to die as the monster's prey. Panic sets in as she sinks, her thoughts screaming that she's scared and doesn't want to die. In her final moments of desperation, she begs for help, and through the bubbles, her small griffin swims into view as she recognizes it. As the griffin, Stella, swims towards her, Claire realizes with amazement that her friend really did follow her after all. Stella gently nuzzles her, and Claire wonders if the small creature is trying to save her. The sun sets over a shoreline as a thought of gratitude echoes. "Thank you, Stella." Claire lies unconscious on a sandy beach, her hand resting gently on the winged griffin beside her. With a soft "ah," Claire's eyes open in a strange bed, and she dazedly wonders where she is. She turns her head with a start, her mind reeling in disbelief as she thinks, "No way." Seeing a figure standing over her bed in the dim room, she fearfully wonders who it could be. A white-haired man in a pirate's hat addresses her, asking if she's finally awake, and she realizes with terror that she's been found by pirates. The pirate captain simply asks, "Kid?" as he draws a gleaming cutlass. As the pirate stands over her with his sword, Claire's thoughts trail off in fear. She clutches the blanket, her eyes wide with the terrifying realization that she is going to be killed. Her mind races with panic as she grapples with the fact that she's been captured by pirates. The chilling thought crosses her mind that if she doesn't obey them, she will surely be killed. Overcome with fear, she clutches her clothes, her resolve hardening with a single thought. She has to escape. Glancing out a porthole, she sees the moonlit water and confirms her fears that she is on a ship at sea. As the reality of her capture by pirates sinks in, a new, more urgent worry consumes her. Her greatest concern is for her friend as she wonders what happened to Stella. Though she's scared, another thought begins to break through her fear. Sitting up suddenly, she wonders aloud if there was a bird right next to her when she washed ashore. A fond memory of the small, white griffin soaring happily through the air flashes in her mind. She recalls the creature's features, exclaiming that it was a rare bird with 4 legs. The white-haired pirate captain scoffs, calling her a naive kid and informing her that the creature was not a bird. He reveals it was a monster known as a griffin, and Claire looks horrified, asking if it's the kind that attacks people. Her mind screams, "No way," as she refuses to believe her friend is a monster. She flashes back to the griffin, trying to save her, and then comforting her, thinking it was kinder than any human. A clear image of Stella's face appears as Claire questions the very definition of a monster. The pirate reminds her she was also about to be killed, but Claire shouts "No!" denying his implication. She passionately insists that not all monsters attack people, explaining that one just saved her and must still be on the island they left. She recalls how exhausted the little griffin looked after saving her. Filled with urgent concern, she scrambles to the pirate captain and begs him to turn the ship back. She continues to plead desperately, begging him to take them back to the previous island. The pirate captain coldly dismisses her plea, refusing to go back for a monster's youngling, unless its eggs are valuable. He tells her to give up and accept that her friend is dead, but a fire ignites in Claire's eyes. Refusing to give up, she desperately grabs onto the pirate captain's cloak. She begs him, promising she will do absolutely anything he says. Kneeling before him, she continues to plead for him to save her friend. The pirate captain finally turns, remarking that what she's asking is no simple request. He asks if she truly understands the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary, leaving her at a loss for words. Claire realizes monsters are considered enemies of humans, but still wonders desperately how she can possibly save Stella. The captain advises her not to wait for others' choices, but to take what she wants if necessary. He tells her to command them, reasoning that a true pirate would not hesitate to do so. His words land with a start, and a new resolve sparks within Claire. As a thought crystallizes in her mind, she clenches her fists with determination. A sudden clatter rings out as Claire snatches a lit lantern from the ship's floor. She stands with newfound purpose, holding the lantern tightly. Her eyes blazing with defiance, she fiercely threatens to burn the entire ship down. A slow smirk spreads across the pirate captain's face as he compliments the good look in her eyes. The ship returns to the sunlit island, but despite their efforts, there is no sign of her friend. The narration explains that though Stella was gone, Claire was welcomed as the adopted daughter of the pirate captain, Leon Carvel. On the ship, she was taught the pirate's way of life, to seize and take for oneself. Gazing at the endless sea, she vows to be reborn as a pirate, never again allowing anyone to take from her. The story transitions to a large ship, docked at a bustling, sun-drenched port town. 12 years later, a confident 18-year-old Claire Carvel declares she will pass the exam and become a captain. She reflects that it has been 12 years since she chose to abandon her old life and become a pirate. In that time, her sole ambition became earning the title of captain. She recalls the captain's creed: to be unbound by common sense and indifferent to the opinions of others. She thinks about how passing the exam will make her a candidate for next captain and grant her command of a ship. With a determined gaze, she vows to seize this opportunity with everything she has. The captain's test is revealed. Attack the royal ship, the King Resurg, at Nostri Island in the Sheland Kingdom. Her research has shown that the ship is carrying a valuable cargo of live monster eggs. She sees this as a perfect pirate mission, a chance to seize treasure and also save the doomed monster babies. Filled with excitement, she turns to her crew and asks about their preparations, and a dark-haired man confirms they are ready. Claire stands at the end of a pier with 2 male crewmates, looking out at their ship on the water. Saying she understands, she activates a magical device on her dagger and declares the operation has begun. A formidable pirate ship with black sails bearing a skull and crossbones approaches another vessel. From the deck of the royal ship, a lookout notes the approaching vessel doesn't seem to be from the local island. A man with brown hair has a sudden, horrifying realization. Boom! A cannonball rips through the hull of the royal ship. Panic erupts on deck as men cry out that the King Resurg is being attacked by pirates and demand the Navy open fire. A lookout observes that the pirate ship is positioned directly in front of the port town. From the docks, Claire calmly watches the unfolding chaos as onlookers begin to murmur nervously. She reaffirms her identity with a simple, chilling thought: but I'm a pirate. The dark-haired man voices his concern about the risk of execution, but Claire coolly reassures him she will ensure their success. She promises to take the fall if caught, but the man vehemently refuses to let her face such a fate alone. His fierce loyalty stops her in her tracks, a flicker of surprise on her face. On the docks, a man asks in horror if the Navy is actually going to fire their cannons with the town in the line of fire. In a deafening roar, the royal ship unleashes a full broadside of cannon fire. Her blonde-haired crewmate rushes to her side, shouting that the Navy is attacking without any regard for the port's civilians. Claire admits this development is surprising, but calmly states that it's not entirely unexpected. Taking charge, she barks a change of plans, ordering her crew to signal Jade and Ultramarine at once. Claire's eyes widen with a jolt of realization as the plan comes together in her mind. She and her dark-haired crewmate leap across the rooftops, moving with swift, silent purpose. She lands gracefully on the docks, her path now blocked by a black-haired man in a formal uniform. She lands on the dock to find herself face-to-face with a black-haired man in a formal uniform. The man, holding a sword, informs her that she has caused a troublesome situation. Claire stares in shock, her mind racing as she identifies him as one of the Knights of Sheland. The action pauses for a brief, transitional warning message from the story's publisher. Her blonde-haired crewmate desperately yells for her to run away as the knight stands over them. Her 2 crewmates step forward, vowing to handle the knight so she can escape. In a flash of movement, the knight strikes down both of her crewmates with ease. Stunned, Claire realizes he took them both down instantly and is clearly no ordinary warrior. Drawing her sword, She confronts him, demanding to know why he's pointing his weapon at an innocent person. He questions her innocence, and with a defiant, "That's right," she stands her ground against him. As she claims they were only there to see a ship set sail, she's forced to dodge a sudden, swift sword strike. The knight scoffs, stating that an innocent civilian couldn't dodge like that, and accuses them of planning to attack the princess's ship. "You damn pirates," he snarls, and Claire realizes with a jolt of panic that their cover has been blown. Noting no other knights are nearby, she resolves that to continue her captain's trial, she must take this man down. She lunges forward, and their swords meet in a shower of sparks. He tells her to stop her futile resistance, calling pirates scum and a waste of his time, which infuriates her. "Ugh," she grunts, shouting, "You vile knight," as she is effortlessly parried and sent flying back. She thinks to herself that this man is unlike any knight she has ever faced before. She lands hard, realizing with dread that he is far too strong for her to defeat. Her momentum sends her stumbling backward into a small boat, teetering at the edge of the pier. He calls her move foolish, but as they face off on the rocking boat, she thinks she now has the advantage as a pirate. A determined thought flashes through her mind. As a pirate, she has the advantage on the unstable sea. With renewed confidence, she prepares to launch another attack with her rapier. The knight's eye narrows with sharp, unwavering focus. He deflects her attack with a single, decisive block. In a swift counter, he disarms her and grabs the chain around her neck, which snaps under the force. Lying on the boat's floor, the knight examines the broken pendant, noting its design was meant to break under force. Claire reveals she wasn't relying on her sword alone as she coolly aims a pistol at him. Her eyes widen in a moment of pure shock as her plan is suddenly interrupted. The knight suddenly appears behind her, having already neutralized the threat, telling her this is why she shouldn't have resisted. Defeated and captured, she realizes this outcome was her own fault and the situation is now dire. The scene transitions to a magnificent, sun-drenched palace with an ornate grand staircase. Led by the knight, Claire is brought into a grand throne room as he announces the arrival of the pirate princess to Nostri Castle. A beautiful woman with long white hair and a gentle smile introduces herself as Evangelica. Standing beside her captor, Claire looks on in stunned silence at the woman before them. Seated on her throne, Evangelica thanks the knight, calling him Adolf, for his excellent work on the mission. Adolf humbly replies that it wasn't a big task, while Claire looks on in disbelief. Hearing his name, Claire wonders in shock if he could possibly be the famous heroic knight, Adolf Ford. Her question hangs in the air as she stares at the stoic profile of Adolf Ford. A shining title card officially introduces him as the heroic knight Adolf Ford. The narration begins to recount the legendary deeds of the famous knight. It's told he ended a 5-year war at 23 and is hailed as a savior who never let his allies fall. Claire recalls the rumors about him serving the princess but struggles to believe this is the same man, while Adolf observes her silently. Evangelica asks directly if the attack on the king rise at the port was Claire's doing. Claire quietly confirms it's true, as Evangelica condemns her actions as barbaric from her throne. Evangelica declares that as a warning to others, she must take the head of the perpetrator. In the face of her sentence, Leon's past warning echoes in her mind. Failure and capture mean execution. A white-haired woman offers Claire a deal. Reveal all her pirate crew's secrets, and she will spare her life. Claire grimly considers the interrogation questions about her crew's strength, ships, and plans. With a commanding gaze, the white-haired woman demands that Claire spill everything she knows. A look of understanding dawns on Claire's face as she realizes the true purpose of her summons. Standing before the throne, Claire politely thanks Her Highness but firmly declines the offer, prompting a curious why. Enraged, Claire yells that she's not just being asked to talk, but to betray her comrades' lives. She tearfully recalls her life with her pirate family, from her adoption to the joys and sorrows they shared together. Standing proudly with her comrades, Claire declares that they are more than just a crew. They are her family. With unwavering conviction, Claire declares she would rather choose death than betray her trusted comrades and break their code. As Claire defiantly accepts her fate, a voice declares she has passed her first trial. The white-haired woman beams victoriously while a completely baffled chibi Claire can only ask, "Huh?" As the woman on the throne praises her impeccable skills, Claire and a man beside her listen, with the man stating the royal family will cooperate with the test for captain. The sight of a man with a white goatee and a pirate hat causes someone to think his name, Leon. Rushing forward, the man, Leon, appears in the throne room as a shocked Claire shouts, "Dad?" Leon stands protectively before a stunned Claire and asks the woman on the throne for an explanation. With a gentle smile, the woman reveals a stunning secret. The Carvel pirate crew is an ally of the royal family. An explanation reveals the crew are the Shadow Knights of the Royals, and that Claire's father is known as Count Carter in this country. Standing beside her father, Leon, Claire realizes the interrogation was a qualification test and asks if the real test starts now. Leon confirms her suspicion, explaining they will now assess her abilities to determine if she is truly worthy to be captain. Finally understanding, Claire listens as the woman on the throne asks about the content of the actual test. The woman on the throne gives Claire a 1-month deadline to gather information on a culprit and report back. Leon informs Claire that she has been granted permission to operate under the name Claire Carter, daughter of Count Leon Carter. He then drops a bombshell, announcing that he has appointed Captain Adolph Ford as her overseer, shocking Claire. Claire stares in disbelief, realizing with horror that the stern man from the party is now her overseer. The scene shifts to Claire sleeping soundly in a luxurious, sunlit bed. A peaceful close-up shows Claire asleep, bathed in a warm, golden light. A maid urgently wakes Lady Claire, announcing that Lord Adolph is waiting, causing Claire to bolt upright in shock. Sitting up in the lavish bed, Claire takes a moment to realize she is no longer on a pirate ship. The scene pans out to show the magnificent estate where she is now staying. The image of the smiling, white-haired princess flashes, a reminder of the mission ahead. The investigation is revealed: the Queen Rose Massacre, a tragedy that occurred at sea. The Queen Rose, a ship from the Kingdom of Sheland, is remembered against a blood-splattered backdrop. As a maid helps her dress, Claire learns the Queen Rose was attacked, plundered, and its 300 crew members were slaughtered. Claire reflects that while she is a pirate, her code is clear. She does not kill people. Princess Eva believed the raid's true target was the 7 valuable monster eggs that were on board. The incredible value of monster eggs is detailed. A phoenix egg can create an eternal flame, and a chimera egg can forge a legendary blade. The blade from a chimera egg gleams, representing the immense power held within the monster artifacts. People are willing to risk their lives fighting monsters just for the chance to acquire a large, intact egg with its astronomical value. Back in the throne room, the princess explains that her elder brother Elvis, the ruler, is currently away. Leon clarifies that this means Claire has 1 month, until the ruler returns, to find the culprits. The princess lays out the first condition for Claire's mission: she must not let anyone discover her pirate identity. The second condition is simple but strict: she must not cause any trouble for the royal family. For the third condition, Claire must be prepared to stake not only her own life, but the lives of her comrades as well. The princess smiles sweetly as she delivers the final, chilling warning: failure means she and her 34 comrades will perish together. The weight of the mission hits Claire as she realizes that if she is discovered, she and her entire crew will be executed. Knock, knock. Realizing she can't afford to be found out, Claire is startled by a knock at her door. Claire tells her visitor to come in, standing ready with her maid. As Adolph enters, Claire offers a slightly awkward "good morning," clearly unsettled by his presence. Adolph notes her early visit, while Claire internally grumbles that he's taking his role as her watchdog very seriously. Adolph internally fumes about having to babysit a pirate, but accepts it as an order, telling her not to waste his time. This scene abruptly shifts to a bright palace interior, where Claire wonders if Adolph will scold her for keeping him waiting. To her shock, a smiling Adolph greets her kindly, calling her Lady Claire. As he asks if she slept well, she is utterly bewildered, internally questioning who this polite man is. She briefly wonders if he's been replaced, but dismisses the idea, concluding he's the same man from yesterday. As maids take their leave, Claire reasons that his harsh demeanor yesterday was just stress, and that this gentlemanly version is his true self. Admiring his handsome looks, she feels a spark of hope that today will be a great day. As she muses that being watched by him might not be so bad, his cold voice shatters her fantasy by calling her pirate. The daydream ends as he furiously asks why she had the nerve to oversleep during a life-or-death situation. Snapped back to reality, she sheepishly admits her fault, blaming it on the extreme comfort of the castle's bed. His harsh tone strikes her with a jolt of startled annoyance. She frantically tells him not to call her pirate out loud, but he retorts that his polite act was only for the maids, calling her a crude pirate woman. Glaring at him, she realizes with frustration that this cold, condescending attitude is his true nature. Through a doorway, he assures her he won't expose her identity, but warns her not to slip up herself. She strikes a confident pose, boldly assuring him not to worry. Internally, she boasts that she can perfectly act the part of a proper noble lady. He facepalms in exasperation, sarcastically asking if that was a curtsy, and voicing his bad feeling about the situation. His mind comically pictures her awkward attempt as a little chick, saying, They begin their walk through the sun-drenched palace gardens, maintaining their public charade. Pouting, Claire privately defends her curtsy, remembering she saw a princess do it in a puppet show once. She silently wonders how real nobles curtsy but knows asking would be far too suspicious. A sudden gasp escapes her as she spots something. A nearby maid loses her footing, sending a stack of papers flying into the wind. As the documents flutter around her, she sees an opportunity. In a flash of unladylike agility, she leaps onto a nearby stone fountain. "I got this," she thinks, with a determined grin as she begins catching the scattered papers. Landing perfectly, she triumphantly presents the gathered papers, while the maid and Adolf stare in shock. The maid stammers in disbelief at her athletic feat, and Claire freezes, realizing her cover is blown. Adolf glares down, demanding to know what she was thinking, as a tiny, chagrined Claire mutters an apology. The tense atmosphere continues as they sit for tea in a sunlit room, attended by a maid. Staring at Adolf's back, she inwardly regrets her impulsive display of agility in the garden. She reflects that she thought acting like a noble would be easy as she reaches for her teacup. To the maid's horror, she then chugs the tea like a pirate, lamenting how difficult nobility is. Crap, she thinks, freezing as she realizes her pirate habits have surfaced yet again. A knowing smirk on his face, Adolf calls out Lady Claire, having clearly noticed her blunder. He summons her over, and a terrified Chibi Claire nervously agrees to his request. The scene shifts to a pair of closed doors, indicating they have moved to a private space. Bam! He slams a hand against the wall beside her, demanding to know if she's messing up on purpose. He coldly warns that her failure will lead to her comrades' deaths, and she reluctantly agrees to be serious. Alone, she reflects on his words, admitting he's right and resolving to take her mission seriously. After being dressed by a helpful blonde maid in a beautiful red and white gown, Claire offers her sincere thanks. A moment of quiet reflection passes as she considers her next move. The enthusiastic maid declares that a ballroom-style dress-up is her specialty and vows to handle everything. The maid excitedly presents an array of dresses and accessories, overwhelming a bewildered Claire with choices. As Claire waits on a balcony, the maid frets that she can't decide on an outfit since everything looks so good. With Claire now beautifully dressed, the proud maid announces she is going to fetch Lord Adolf. Looking at her elegant reflection in a mirror, Claire admits to herself that she looks pretty good. She wonders if her stunning transformation will be enough to surprise even the stoic knight. Adolf enters the room, announcing that the carriage is ready without looking up at her. He finally turns to face her, his words halting as he takes in her appearance. She returns his gaze with a look of cool, newfound confidence in her elegant attire. Lost in thought, Adolf observes her with a critical, unimpressed gaze. His internal monologue is scathing. He thinks to himself that she's far less impressive than he expected. Claire smirks, assuming she has mesmerized him, only for her confidence to shatter as she realizes his true reaction. Is he picking a fight? She fumes as Adolf coldly remarks that the maid's praise raised her expectations too much. In the maid's memory, however, she recalls thinking that Lady Claire was dazzlingly beautiful. Adolf blames the maid for setting the bar too high, leaving a sweat-dropping Claire feeling deeply embarrassed. A tense, silent moment passes between them after his brutally honest assessment. Fuming at his rudeness, she thinks to herself that the famous knight has a truly foul mouth. Shaking off her anger, she cheerfully declares that she's ready and that it's time to go to the party. Under a beautiful starry sky, their grand carriage waits to take them to the soiree. Watched by the maid and a butler, Adolf formally gestures for the elegantly dressed Claire to board the carriage. Switching back to his gentlemanly facade, he offers his hand to help her. She warily takes his hand as he assumes the role of her proper escort. She's shocked by his sudden shift in demeanor, thinking he's like a completely different person. As they greet another guest, she's privately grateful he's at least acting the part of a proper escort in public. Even so, she admits to herself that she's completely unused to this formal charade. What's most annoying, she thinks, is that his handsome appearance makes the charming act look so natural. As they walk along a moonlit terrace, he breaks the silence to question her. He asks what she's truly thinking, coming to a high society party like this, mocking her terrible curtsy. He asks if she's even taking this mission seriously. She smiles confidently, assuring him she is serious as they arrive before the glowing ballroom doors. The doors swing open to reveal a massive, opulent ballroom filled with nobles. She explains her purpose for being there, to steal what I'm lacking. He scoffs that she's just a pirate and a thief, but she quickly tells him to be quiet and listen. She knows she is severely lacking in noble etiquette and has no time to learn it slowly. Her plan is simple. She will steal their mannerisms by watching how they act at the soiree. Immediately, A group of noble women approach, intrigued by her handsome escort and asking for an introduction. One woman sidles up to Adolf, eager to meet him and ready to start spreading rumors. A blonde woman in a dark blue dress approaches, noting how rare it is to see a marquis at such an event. Completely ignoring Claire, the blonde woman invites Adolf to chat with her somewhere more private. She leans in closer, specifying that she wants to speak with him alone. Adolf coldly rejects her, stating he already has an engagement with the Count's daughter, leaving Claire shocked and the blonde woman fuming. The rejected woman immediately turns on Claire, sizing her up as a new debutante she's never seen before. Getting uncomfortably close, she insults Claire, saying it's too soon for her to be escorted by a marquis. She tells Claire to leave Adolf to her and find someone more suitable for her own station. With a dismissive wave, she points out other, more fitting gentlemen in the room. The surrounding guests begin to whisper, judging the newcomer for fighting over a marquis and not knowing her place. Claire listens calmly, recognizing the roundabout, veiled insults of the nobility. In her mind, she translates their polite words into their true meaning. Don't get cocky, you lowly upstart. Her pirate spirit ignites as she accepts their challenge, ready to show them what happens when they pick a fight with her. Taking Adolf's arm, Claire smoothly addresses her rival, claiming there's been a misunderstanding. She dramatically flips the script, declaring that it was Adolf who insisted on being her escort, shocking everyone. Feigning reluctance, she sighs that while she was fine coming alone, Adolf insisted it wasn't possible. A quick flashback reveals the truth. She'd called him a watchdog, and he'd flatly stated he was coming with her. As the blonde woman stammers in disbelief, Claire coolly dares her to confirm the story with Adolf himself. Desperate, the woman turns to Adolf, pleading for him to tell her that Claire is lying. With a devastatingly cool smirk, Adolf confirms, well, she hasn't lied, leaving the blonde woman in shock. Triumphant, Claire steps forward and tells the woman that she can't let her have Adolf. She gives a perfect, graceful curtsy, privately thinking how well she handled the situation. Her rival storms off in defeat, and a tiny chibi Claire internally celebrates her victory. Adolf mutters that she's said some outrageous things, but Claire coolly retorts that it's his fault, so they're even. She strikes a confident pose, proudly asking him if she wasn't perfectly noble-like in that moment. Adolf brings a gloved hand to his chin, silently considering her performance. With a slight impressed smile, he concedes that he supposes she was. A man with light brown hair and a mustache approaches, calling out to Adolf as Claire and he turn to face him. The man expresses his surprise at seeing Adolf at the party. He greets the beautiful lady and introduces himself as Thomas Wells, prompting Claire to give her alias, Claire Carter. Her eyes widen in shock as she inwardly realizes who he is, questioning if he's that Thomas Wells. Claire asks if he is the famed Naval Knight commander, and he seems surprised that she knows of him. Lord Wells confirms he transferred to the Navy after losing his left arm in the war, having previously been in charge of the capital. Claire feigns excitement, remarking on the rumor that no one has captured more pirates than Lord Wells. Her expression darkens as she internally fumes, identifying him as the business rival who captured her partners and caused huge losses. Laughing, Lord Wells modestly accepts the praise and reveals he just returned this morning after finally capturing the infamous Gigazet pirate group. A chibi Claire glumly thinks of another pirate group being wiped out, a skull and crossbones floating beside her. She privately reasons that he seems unrelated to her mission and doesn't know her true identity. Lord Wells then asks if she was caught up in the Carvel pirate group's attack at the port the other day. Claire laughs nervously and denies being there, while a bead of sweat runs down Adolf's face. Thinking of the ship guarded at the port, she deduces it's related to the captain's test and will be held until it's over. Lord Wells apologizes for the long chat, but Claire politely replies that she enjoyed the conversation since she loves the sea. He looks surprised and intrigued, repeating her claim that she's fond of the sea. Leaning in conspiratorially, he slyly offers to show her the sea. Bam! Adolf's glowing hand suddenly appears, blocking Lord Wells's advance as he and Claire stare in shock. As Adolf glares intensely, Claire lets out a startled, "Huh!" She looks at him with a stern expression, thinking his name in confusion. Stepping in front of her protectively, Adolf tells Lord Wells that they're already prepared. When Wells asks what he means, Adolf explains he has orders from someone named Eve to escort Claire, suggesting the busy knight should leave it to him. Lord Wells sighs, agreeing to step aside if it is the princess's request and to refrain from interfering. Adolf coldly warns him to stop addressing the princess so casually by her first name, calling it an inexcusable rudeness. Claire watches, thinking to herself that even she, as a pirate, found Wells's casual tone bothersome. She wonders about his behavior, but then thinks she can understand Adolf's feelings. She speculates that Adolf sees his sister in the princess, leaving her to silently question, "Sister?" As Lord Wells continues to lecture Adolf about tarnishing his honor, Adolf cuts him off with a sharp, "Shut up." Radiating a dark, furious energy, Adolf retorts that he doesn't care about honor, and warns Wells not to assume everyone acts for that reason. Taken aback, Lord Wells apologizes, admitting his concern seems to have been unnecessary. Claire privately questions Adolf's strange behavior, sarcastically calling him Sir Hero Knight. Regaining his composure, Lord Wells announces that he should take his leave. Waving goodbye, he wishes Adolf and the young lady a good evening as he departs. Adolf and Claire stand in tense silence after his departure. Claire asks Adolf what's wrong and brings up his sister, but he curtly tells her to never mind about him. He places a hand on her shoulder, instructing her to focus on learning noble etiquette and to tell him when she wants to leave. She looks down sadly and quietly agrees. Her inner thoughts reveal her mounting curiosity, annoyed that his avoidance only makes her want to know more. The scene shifts to a garden, where a woman in a brilliant yellow gown is introduced as Princess Evangelica. Princess Evangelica, a young woman with long white hair, smiles warmly, saying she is pleased Claire could come. Seated across from her, the princess tells Claire, who is now in a yellow dress, that she has been wanting to have a nice chat. Claire, her hair now in braids and adorned with yellow ribbons, returns a gentle smile. A small white bird chirps peacefully on a leafy branch in the sunlit garden. As Claire sips her tea, she starts to ask the princess a question. Princess Evangelica compliments Claire, telling her she has mastered the noble demeanor and that her tea etiquette is perfect. Setting her teacup down, Claire confidently replies that she's simply a quick learner. The white-haired princess compliments Claire, remarking that she truly is a fast learner. Claire reflects that she had to learn quickly to survive, her harsh past flashing before her eyes. Changing the subject, she asks the princess if her comrades are doing well, worried about their big appetites. She fondly pictures her motley pirate crew, with one tall man waving cheerfully. She steels her resolve, knowing she absolutely must pass this test to get them released. The princess reassures her that they're all well fed, though she had to refuse their demands for alcohol, for which she apologizes. Claire smiles in relief, thinking that if her crew is that spirited, she doesn't need to worry. The princess then asks if she's getting along with Adolf, noting that he seems kind and caring. Claire is stunned by the description, inwardly questioning if the cold, stern Adolf could be kind and caring. She gives a polite, non-committal answer, but privately thinks he's a nuisance, while the princess believes they'll be good partners. Gathering her courage, Claire decides to ask Her Highness a question about Adolf. The princess's expression sobers as she looks down at her teacup. Sunlight streams through a grand arched window, creating a moment of contemplative silence. The princess apologizes, explaining that it's not a topic she can discuss lightly. Claire quickly apologizes for prying, realizing she won't get any more information on the subject. As a maid refills the princess's tea, Claire decides to change the topic and asks about her older brother. A glowing blue silhouette of a man is described as the ruler of Nostri Island and fourth in line to the throne. Claire asks what the prince is like, mentioning she heard he is currently away. The princess's eyes sparkle with joy as she excitedly asks if Claire means her brother, Elvis. As the princess launches into a passionate speech about her perfect brother, Claire inwardly groans, realizing she's just touched on a very dangerous topic. Feigning enthusiasm, Claire agrees that Prince Elvis sounds amazing, delighting the gushing princess. A chibi Claire quickly steers the conversation back to its original purpose, and the princess remembers her questions. The princess asks what Claire wanted to ask her. With a sly smile, the princess gets to the point, asking if Claire really thinks she can pass the test alone. She leans forward, asking precisely what Claire seeks as royal assistance. A silhouette shows one figure kneeling before another, symbolizing a formal request for aid. Claire states that the task for her test is to find the culprit behind the massacre. She reasons that since the test also assesses her as a Shadow Knight, requesting formal authority would likely mean failure. Besides, she thinks, her supervisor Adolf is already troublesome enough without more people involved. She concludes that she absolutely cannot make a mistake with this critical choice. Looking down with resolve, she quietly says, "I'm sorry." Later, in a carriage, Adolf sarcastically comments on her seemingly nice life of parties and high-end shopping. Inside the carriage, Adolf questions if visiting a jewelry store is part of the test, and she firmly confirms it is. As the carriage continues, he presses her about the royal assistance, accusingly asking if she's just going to request jewels. He scoffs that his guess is probably accurate, and she reluctantly admits it might be. Annoyed by his tone, she thinks to herself that she has a legitimate reason for being here. Arriving at their destination, she orders him to be quiet and follow her lead. The doors to a shop swing open as she is welcomed inside. A male clerk asks if she's looking for anything, and she requests a new brooch with good materials. The smiling clerk assures her they have many options and will bring out his recommendations. He presents a tray with several colorful, sparkling gems. Claire is thoroughly unimpressed, thinking the recommendations are lackluster for the island's best jewelry store. She dismisses the gems as low quality and boldly asks to see the most expensive item in the store. The clerk smirks, condescendingly warning her that their wares are likely far more expensive than she can imagine. Linking arms with Adolphe, Claire smugly reveals she isn't the one purchasing, shocking the clerk who recognizes Marquise Ford. Flustered, the clerk apologizes profusely and scrambles to bring out their finest items immediately. Adolphe complains that she's acting on her own again, but she coolly points out the clerk simply misunderstood. With a sly grin, she thinks she deserves at least this much for enduring his constant surveillance. The clerk rushes back, presenting a new selection of truly magnificent, high-quality gems. After examining the new tray, Claire questions if this is all they have, making the nervous clerk stammer that it is. Dismissing the current selection, Claire declares she wants something even more exquisite than what's offered. With a sly smirk, she specifically requests a rare and unusual material, monster eggshells. Her strange request leaves both the clerk and Adolphe utterly stunned. The clerk apologizes, admitting they don't have monster eggshells, as Claire feigns disappointment, saying she hoped they would. When Claire asks about the main store in the capital, the clerk confirms that eggshells are unavailable at any of their locations. Announcing her departure, Claire voices her disappointment, lamenting she couldn't use eggshells for her new brooch. As the clerk bows and promises to contact her if they come in stock, she thanks him with a knowing smile. Outside, Adolphe sarcastically praises her brazenness for leaving empty-handed, and she cheerfully accepts his compliment. Adolphe correctly deduces her true intention was to find clues about the stolen monster eggs, which she confirms with a smile. The narration explains 7 valuable monster eggs were stolen from the massacre site, questioning why pirates would hold on to them. Adolphe reasons that pirates, living dangerous lives, would likely have sold such valuable treasures immediately. She explains that while she doubted they'd use legitimate stores, she had to check just in case, confirming the eggs aren't here. When Adolphe asks for her next plan, she concludes that if the eggs aren't on the surface, they must be in the underground. With a sudden spark of inspiration, she announces to a surprised Adolphe that she's decided what to request for her royal assistance. Back in the palace, Claire formally makes her request to Princess Evangelica, who asks if a caravel ship is indeed her wish. Claire explains that since she needs to travel by sea but is forbidden from using her own pirate crew, she formally requests a ship. Princess Evangelica smiles warmly and agrees to arrange for a ship immediately, much to Claire's gratitude. Sometime later, Claire holds an invitation, telling a curious Adolphe it's for a tea party from someone named Bridget Keynes. When Adolphe can't recall the name, a chibi Claire reminds him it was the young lady she argued with at the soiree. Recalling their tense encounter, Claire wonders aloud if the invitation is meant as a gesture of apology. The formal invitation is addressed simply to Lady Claire. The letter politely thanks Claire for the soiree, apologizes for suddenly feeling unwell, and extends an invitation to a tea party. A curious slip of the pen reads, "Please don't run away," quickly corrected to, "Please don't hesitate and do come." The letter's true intent becomes clearer as it adds a request to hear about her conversation with Lord Adolphe. As Bridget's sinister thoughts reveal her intent to gossip, a horrified Claire realizes the invitation is a trap. Adolphe suggests she decline the invitation, but Claire, grabbing his arm, firmly declares that she will go. Her eyes blazing with determination, she thinks to herself that refusing the invitation would be an admission of defeat. While Adolphe dismisses winning or losing as trivial, Claire insists it's important, having realized the constant power plays of the nobility. She explains that a loss here could damage her father's standing, concluding that she absolutely cannot back down. Arriving at Bridget Keynes's lavish estate, Claire is greeted by the hostess, who says they've all been waiting for her. Bridget strikes a pose, looking elegant and confident amidst a backdrop of white roses. Noticing 2 other ladies at the table, Claire inwardly remarks that since Bridget lost one-on-one, she's now trying to win with numbers. After a brief tense pause, Bridget gestures towards the table, ready to begin the party. With a seemingly polite but menacing air, Bridget invites her to have a seat as Claire steels herself for what's to come. Now seated with Bridget and her friends, Claire receives a formal thank you for attending the party. Leaning in with a smug smile, Bridget suggests they have a nice chat just between the ladies. A beautiful spread of tea, cakes, and pastries is laid out on the table before them. The ladies make pleasant small talk, complimenting the tea's aroma and the delicious-looking baked goods. Claire notes the party's lavishness, but inwardly questions why the tray of sweets seems to be placed just out of her reach. As one of the ladies praises the refreshments, Bridget accepts the compliment with a sly, knowing smile. Her eyes narrowing in anger, Claire realizes they're stooping to petty harassment by intentionally keeping the sweets from her. One of the ladies then changes the subject, asking Claire why she was with Lord Adolf again today and questioning her intentions. Another chimes in, condescendingly telling Claire not to bother the busy night and demanding to know who she thinks she is. Inwardly, Claire fumes at their noisy accusations, thinking she has no desire to serve them in any capacity. When a lady questions why the captain isn't busy, Claire smoothly replies that the Imperial Guard is full of elites, so it's no problem. With a serene smile, she finishes her defense by adding that even a captain deserves a break every now and then. Back with Adolf, Claire crosses her arms and states that for future reference, they need to decide on the nature of their relationship. A confused Adolf asks if there's more than pirate and lookout, but she clarifies she means their public relationship, which needs a plausible cover story. Adolf sighs, conceding she has a point but hesitating, prompting an impatient "so?" from Claire. Getting an idea, Claire brightly suggests a simple cover story. They'll just tell everyone he is currently on leave. With a confident wink, Claire presents her cover story. They're always together because he's head over heels for her. A stunned Adolf asks if she's joking, but Claire firmly states from across the room that she's serious, calling it the easiest excuse. She reasons that since she's not important enough for a bodyguard, his voluntary presence silences critics, and they can just break up after her exam. Leaning in with an intense gaze, she asks if he will help keep her true identity a secret. Sighing with resignation, Adolf leans against the wall and reluctantly tells her to do whatever she wants. Back at the tea party, Bridget's blonde friend remarks that an extended leave seems strange for the notoriously dutiful Lord Adolf. Claire's eye flashes as she inwardly acknowledges the lady's sharp observation is correct. Taking a sip of tea, Claire calmly suggests that his dutiful reputation might have been true in the past. She then adds with a serene smile that love can change a person. Bridget's friends gasp in unison, shocked by the scandalous implication as they shout, "Love." As Bridget whispers, "Oh my," a chibi Claire worries she went too far, while a tiny, annoyed Adolf glares in the background. Recovering, Bridget's friend sneers that he'll surely get disillusioned, and Bridget agrees, adding that Claire seems like the type to play with men. As the ladies accuse her of wanting to surround herself with men, Claire's aura darkens, and she coldly dismisses their inappropriate assumptions. Her eyes narrowing, she counters that most insults are born from jealousy. Turning the accusation back on them, she asks if perhaps it is they who want to be fawned over by many men, leaving them speechless. A vision of her happy crew appears, as Claire cheekily recalls being surrounded by men on her ship, making the ladies shout that she's gone too far. Bridget smoothly intervenes, telling everyone to calm down and stop speaking ill of Lady Claire. Bridget then offers a backhanded compliment, saying Claire is so adorable it's no wonder men can't leave her alone, which confuses Claire. The friendly facade drops as Bridget asks if Claire resembles her father, causing a crackle of furious energy to surround Claire. Tightly gripping her dress, Claire quietly confirms it's true while inwardly admitting they aren't actually related. Bridget then asks if Claire takes after her mother, and Claire gives a hesitant, non-committal reply. Pressing her advantage, Bridget asks if her mother is also a beautiful redhead, knowing Claire has never met her. A bead of sweat drips down Claire's face as she realizes she's been cornered, thinking, this is bad. She thinks of the obvious logic. A daughter means there's a mother, as a vision of her and her adoptive father appears. The vision shatters as she remembers the stark reality. Her dad doesn't have a wife. Panicking internally, she worries that she can't say anything contradictory without knowing if her dad ever spoke about a past family. The other ladies seize on her silence, asking why she's gone quiet and won't tell them about her mother. Bridget leans in close, whispering suggestively and questioning if there's a reason Claire can't speak of her. Claire remains silent, her expression guarded as she endures their pointed questions. Bridget leaps to her feet, exclaiming, "I knew it," and declaring she always thought it was strange when a nobody appeared at the soiree. Leaning menacingly over the table, Bridget directly accuses Claire of not being a true noble. With a sly, cruel smile, Bridget reveals her theory. Claire is the illegitimate child of the Count and a commoner. The spectral forms of the other ladies appear, agreeing that this theory is entirely possible. A ghostly image of one lady sneers at the thought of filthy commoner blood. Another adds that it explains her brazenness, since the Count himself is nouveau riche, a final insult that makes Claire's eyes flash with fury. At her breaking point, Claire slams the table and yells that their gathering of rude people is absurd. A close-up of a teacup shows her inner thoughts. Relieved that they haven't figured out she's a pirate, clenching her fist, she decides she can't bear to hear any more of their insults. Announcing her departure, she thinks that while she's angry, the best course of action is to simply ignore them and leave. From outside the Grand Estate, a frustrated cry of, "What?" is heard. The next day, both Claire and Adolphe are horrified to read a newspaper headline declaring an illegitimate child scandal and questioning if she's a fake noble. The shock of the moment is emphasized as they both continue to stare at the scandalous headline in disbelief. Adolphe asks what's going on, and a crestfallen Claire admits that Bridget completely got her. She clenches her fist, angry at herself for underestimating Bridget and for not aligning their stories with her father beforehand. Claire worries that revealing her identity will mean failing the test, and while they don't know she's a pirate yet, it's only a matter of time. She frets that the scandal will interfere with her investigation and could lead to her real identity being exposed. Standing alone in a grand, empty hall, Claire resolves to end the commotion and desperately wonders how she can prove she's a genuine noble. A voice offers to change her royal assistance request from the ship to official proof of Claire's lineage. Adolphe watches a conflicted Claire at her desk and asks what she's going to do. Claire stands up decisively, but a thought bubble saying, "But unfortunately," hints at a potential problem with her choice. With her fists clenched, Claire declares to a watchful Adolphe that she will end this commotion herself. Facing Adolphe, Claire reveals her plan to change the contents of a small bottle she's holding, prompting him to cautiously ask what she's planning this time. Holding a vial of red liquid, Claire confidently declares with a sly smile that she'll blow all the silly rumors away. The next day, at a magnificent estate, a voice calls out to Lady Claire upon her arrival. Bridget, flanked by her two companions, welcomes Claire with a triumphant smile, saying she's glad she could come again. Offering false sympathy, Bridget tells Claire she must be having a hard time with the newspaper article, and that she couldn't bear being accused of being an illegitimate child. Bridget reveals she invited nobles and reporters, giving Claire the opportunity to clear up any misunderstandings in front of everyone. The whispering crowd has already decided on tomorrow's headline: Lady Claire's poor defense. Suspicions deepen. Claire thanks Bridget with a bright smile, while inwardly realizing her rival just wants her to dig her own grave. Addressing the assembled nobles, Claire thanks everyone for gathering here today. With a graceful curtsy, she formally introduces herself to the crowd as Claire Carter. She announces that regarding yesterday's article, she would like to take this chance to tell everyone the truth. A skeptical reporter scoffs, guessing she's just going to claim she's a legitimate daughter instead of an illegitimate one. With piercing blue eyes, Claire firmly declares that she is not Count Carter's illegitimate child. To the shock of the reporters, she drops a bombshell. She's not even his biological daughter. The crowd murmurs in confusion, questioning what it means for her to not be his biological daughter. Claire begins her story, explaining that she and Count Carter are relatives and that he adopted her after she lost her parents. Inwardly, a chibi Claire smirks, realizing that since her father never mentioned having relatives, she can embellish the story however she wants. She continues her tale, claiming she was very sickly and spent her days confined to her room, which greatly worried her father. A flashback vision shows a concerned Count Carter comforting a younger, sad-looking Claire. She claims he traveled the world on merchant ships, searching for a medicine that could cure her illness. Presenting the red vial to the audience, she reveals it to be a medicine made from astragalus root, the cure he found for her. The crowd, including a skeptical reporter, is unfamiliar with the term astragalus and expresses their confusion. Turning her back to the audience, Claire declares how truly grateful she is for her father's efforts. With her hands clasped to her chest, she presents an image of heartfelt, daughterly devotion. Members of the audience are moved, remarking that the Count must truly care for Lady Claire to go to such lengths for a rare medicine. Claire inwardly smirks, pleased that her knowledge of medicine from piracy is proving useful as they jump to their own conclusions. A vision of her and her adoptive father appears as she states they may not be biological parent and child. She concludes her speech by declaring she considers the Count the best father she could ask for, pleading for their understanding. The crowd erupts into applause, completely won over by her emotional and convincing story. Bridget seethes with rage, realizing with a snarl that her plan is completely backfired. The next morning, a voice urgently calls for Claire from outside the mansion. An emotional Count Carter holds up a newspaper featuring headlines about a touching tale of parental love and a bond that overcame illness. Claire tells her father that her story is proof she's cleared the accusations, and that she deserves praise for solving it with sheer willpower. The Count, relieved her identity remains secret, wonders how everyone believed such a far-fetched story without any proof. Claire explains her strategy. Mixing truth into lies makes them more believable, and besides, everyone loves a heartwarming story. A maid rushes in shouting, "Lady Claire," declaring that the outcome is a win-win situation. The maid delivers shocking news. A message has arrived from Her Royal Highness. Arriving at the palace, Claire is surprised by the summons and wonders what the urgent news could be. A white-haired woman with a chillingly sweet smile addresses her as Miss Claire. Her Royal Highness cheerfully announces that Claire's requested caravel ship is now ready. The scene shifts to the open sea, where Claire, now in practical clothes, is happily steering a large ship alongside Adolf. Enjoying the nice breeze, Claire finds the gentle rocking of the ship soothing. Adolf observes that she seems happy, and she enthusiastically agrees, explaining it's been too long since she's been on a ship. She feels alive again, free from the pretense of being a noble and the fear of her identity being exposed, just riding the wind across the ocean. With a blissful smile, Claire concludes that she really is cut out to be a pirate after all. Adolf quietly agrees, but when Claire asks if he spoke, he quickly says it was nothing. Claire and Adolf arrive at a town with a simple wooden gate, ready for the next step of their mission. A close-up reveals 3 gleaming gold coins resting in a hand. Claire and Adolf stand before a bald man, seemingly having completed a transaction or hired a new contact. Walking through a squalid port town, Claire inwardly gripes about having to pay a bribe to enter, deeming it a wretched island. A lecherous man catcalls Claire, but Adolf swiftly neutralizes the threat by twisting his arm behind his back with a sharp whack. Claire turns at the noise and asks if something happened, but Adolf coolly replies, "Not really." Adolf remarks that the place is a garbage dump and questions their chances, but Claire insists it's the perfect place for pirates to sell stolen goods discreetly. An image of treasure and beautiful jeweled eggs illustrates the narration, which explains this black market is the most likely place to find the stolen monster eggs. Adolf agrees it's worth a look, but wonders how they'll find anything in the chaotic market without a plan. With a confident smile, Claire reassures him not to worry, as she knows a reliable contact for situations like this. As she steps forward, Adolf's gloved hand suddenly clamps down on her wrist, stopping her. He urgently tells her to wait, warning that the path ahead is no good. Claire questions him, seeing nothing wrong with the muddy road, but he insists that's not the problem. Adolf explains the danger, revealing he recognizes one of the 2 men talking in the distance. When Claire asks if he knows a pirate, Adolf clarifies it's a former subordinate he thought had vanished after a violent incident. Agreeing it would be troublesome to be seen, they decide to find a different route to avoid him. Their escape plan is thwarted as they realize with alarm that the men are now headed their way. Claire panics internally as she sees her former subordinate and his companion walking directly toward them. Thinking fast, she decides they must hide immediately, and yanks a protesting Adolf along with her. From their hiding spot in an alcove, they watch as the 2 men walk past, completely oblivious. Claire breathes a sigh of relief that they weren't noticed, only for Adolf to call out to her from behind. She turns around, startled to find herself pressed closely against Adolf in the narrow, flower-filled hiding spot. A close-up reveals her wide-eyed shock at their sudden and intimate proximity. A flustered Claire apologizes for her sudden action, but Adolf accepts it, admitting her quick thinking saved them. Relieved, Claire suggests they finally head to the tavern to meet her contact. At the tavern, Claire calls out, "Gil!" to an orange-haired man who greets her with a charming wink. Gil teases Claire about her handsome companion, asking if Adolf is the other man, which causes both of them to furiously deny it. Gil the informant smirks and gets to the point, asking what information she came to buy. Claire asks directly if he's heard of monster eggs being sold in the black market, and he clarifies if she means whole eggs, not just shells. She muses that while possible, she believes the eggs are likely still intact. Gil's expression grows serious as he asks if she means the monster eggs that were looted from the ship, the Queen Rose. Impressed, Claire confirms she's looking for the mastermind, but Gil questions her involvement in a royal ship case. Gil slyly glances at Adolf, asking if her investigation is actually for her handsome companion's business. Claire expertly deflects by holding up a gold coin, insisting she is the client, which makes Gil smile at her improved negotiation skills. Taking the deal, Gil reveals a crucial fact. Neither monster eggs nor their shells have appeared on the black market since the incident. This revelation puzzles Claire. who wonders why pirates would steal the eggs, if not to sell them. Suddenly, a loud scream of Gra echoes from nearby, interrupting their conversation. Claire and Adolf both turn in alarm toward the sound, with looks of shock and concern. They see an auctioneer presenting his next item. A small, sad-looking boy with green eyes, bound by thorny vines. Wah! The auctioneer calls the child the bargain of the night, as men in the crowd sneer that a child is too weak to rebel. Adolf grimly identifies it as a slave auction, coolly remarking that a pirate like her should be used to such a sight. Enraged, Claire whirls on him, declaring that even if she's seen it before, it doesn't mean she can stand it. She turns back to the auction, determined to intervene before the boy is sold to such monstrous people. He holds her firmly, questioning the logic of saving one slave at the risk of their entire mission. Their conflicting morals and objectives clash as he reminds her to not forget her goal, their faces inches apart in a tense standoff. Gil smoothly steps between them, calmly pointing out their disagreement. Claire wants to save the boy, while Adolf prioritizes the investigation. He then offers a simple solution to their dilemma, asking why they don't just save the boy. The focus returns to the hopeless-looking boy, shackled and wearing a collar with the letter C on it. When Adolf questions his logic, Gil insists he has a good reason, hinting that the boy could be their key. Gil reveals the boy is a potential source of information, explaining he survived a sunken pirate ship and was a servant on a vessel from the Kingdom of Sureland. He concludes that the boy's ship was attacked by pirates a month ago, and he was taken as loot, a revelation that leaves Claire and Adolf stunned. Claire realizes the boy is a survivor from the Queen Rose, but Gil cheekily adds that more details will cost extra. Just as Claire processes the news, Adolf places a hand on her shoulder, telling her to wait. Claire angrily whirls on him to complain, but he cuts her off, insisting that's not what he meant. Suddenly, all three, Claire, Adolf, and Gil, look up in alarm at an unseen disturbance from above. A monstrous griffin with glowing red eyes descends upon them as Claire gasps in disbelief. The crowd screams in terror, shouting that a monster is here, and that everyone must run and find shelter immediately. Cursing his luck, the auctioneer panics about being eaten, abandoning the terrified little boy. The boy desperately reaches out, begging not to be left behind as his captor flees. Without a second thought, Claire rushes to the boy's side and begins struggling with his shackles. Finding no key, she promises to save the stunned boy, who can only ask, why? Adolf shouts, "Get down!" as danger looms from above, and Claire and the boy look up in terror. Thump. Adolf shoves Claire and the boy to the ground, shielding them as the Griffon's talons smash into the spot where they just stood. He rolls them safely out of the way just in the nick of time. Adolf angrily demands to know if she wants to die, but she retorts, "Of course not," before he yells at her to run. Claire argues that he's a knight, but Adolf grimly replies that even knights aren't all-powerful and that feelings alone are not enough. Cradling the boy, Claire concedes he's right, but defiantly declares she can't abandon the child. Remembering her own past enslavement, she resolves that she cannot leave another to suffer in that same darkness and despair. Watching the griffin circle under the moon, Claire thinks that she would prefer not to hurt the creature. But preparing for the worst, she cocks a pistol, ready to defend herself if necessary. As the griffin swoops down, she notices something unexpected, a rope binding its beak shut. She immediately realizes the rope must be the reason the creature is rampaging. Concluding the Griffon is just struggling in pain, she decides she must help it instead of fighting it. Turning to Adolf, Claire confidently announces she needs him to do her a favor. With a new strategy in mind, Claire approaches Adolf and asks for his help. She asks if he has the skill to cut only the rope on the griffin's beak without harming the creature itself. Adolf replies that it's not impossible, but only if the target isn't moving through the air. A memory of petting a baby griffin flashes through her mind as she insists that griffins don't eat humans. When Adolf questions her certainty, a faint royal crest glows on her chest as she declares, "Because I know, you cut the rope, I'll distract it, and then get the child," she orders, dashing off before a stunned Adolf can protest. Facing the pained creature, Claire calls out to it, empathizing with its suffering and promising that she is here to help. She opens her arms in a gesture of peace, promising to save the griffin as she coaxes it to come closer. With a gentle smile, she beckons the creature, which slowly begins to fly down towards her. "It's okay," she says with a reassuring smile, adding, "I believe in you." The massive griffon gently lands before her, nuzzling its head trustingly against her hand. With the griffin pacified, Claire calls out Adolf as his glowing sword flashes into view. While Claire calms the beast, Adolf takes aim, his expression one of intense focus as his sword gleams with power. Thump! The severed rope binding the griffin's beak drops to the stone street, A triumphant screech echoes as the freed griffin cries out in relief. Claire watches with a gentle, satisfied smile and says, "Good." Standing beside Adolf, she tells the now peaceful griffon that it's free to go. The grateful griffin takes flight, soaring into the night sky and leaving them behind. Claire turns to Adolf and thanks him for cutting the rope, admitting she couldn't have helped without him. Adolf sighs, a faint blush on his face, and sternly tells her to never do that again. He scolds her for the risk, stating he could have cut her, but she just laughs it off, teasing him for his concern. Pointing a finger at him with a grin, she declares she knew he'd be fine because she believed in him. A flustered Adolf turns away as Claire looks at him, puzzled by his reaction. With the boy in tow, Claire cheerfully tells the stunned auctioneer she'll be taking him, who protests that she surely wouldn't charge a hero. Leaning in with a threatening smile, Claire asks who exactly just saved them all, intimidating the man into letting her take the boy for free. Overwhelmed with emotion, the boy throws his arms around Claire, sobbing his thanks. Claire kneels and holds the boy's hands, gently asking if he's calmer now and calling him Rito. The boy, identified as Rito, looks up with grateful eyes and confirms that he is. With a sad expression, Claire asks Rito if he was captured along with his parents. As Rito wonders how she knew, Adolf steps in to coolly explain that the answer is on his collar. Adolf elaborates that in slave families, parents are marked with an F and children with a C. Claire gently asks Rito if he was on the Queen Rose and if he can recall the pirate's name despite the painful memory. Full of gratitude, Rito tells Claire she saved his life and promises to tell her everything he knows. The scene shifts to a grand, moonlit palace, lit from within and adorned with statues. "Your Highness," a beautiful white-haired woman looks up from her papers with a surprised, "Oh my," as Claire delivers a report. Sitting on her throne, the Highness asks Claire if she truly believes the Zigazet pirates were behind the massacre. Claire confirms her belief, stating her information comes from a source she deeply trusts. Claire internally narrates that, thanks to Rito's testimony, she identified the pirates, but her relief was short-lived. She grits her teeth in frustration, thinking that of all crews, it had to be the Zigazet pirates. Claire recalls that the Zigazet pirates were captured days ago by Lord Wells of the Navy, who has likely already interrogated them. She panics, realizing that if Lord Wells reports to the Highness first, she will fail her assignment and her exam. Remembering her rush back to the castle, she worries desperately that she was too late. To her surprise, the Highness smiles and says this just means they're one step closer to passing the test. When the Highness asks what's wrong, Claire hesitates, admitting she thought Lord Wells might have reported first. The Highness reassures a relieved Claire that she hasn't received any report yet. Claire celebrates her luck, guessing the pirates kept quiet, while Adolf dryly suggests the Navy might just be incompetent. Annoyed, Claire puffs her cheeks at Adolf's sharp tongue as he stares back impassively. Remembering a key detail, Claire tells the Highness she needs to question the pirate crew's first mate. Recalling Rito's words, she explains the first mate is the key to the incident and she must question him. The Highness informs her that to speak with the first mate, Jigasat, she must go through Wells, as the Navy has jurisdiction. Claire grows anxious, realizing it would be highly suspicious for a noble lady to ask to interrogate a pirate. The Highness offers a solution, suggesting Claire ask Wells for information directly instead of the pirates. Shocked, Claire asks if that's possible, and the Highness explains Wells seems to like her and might share information during a casual chat. Her Highness's eyes gleam with playful cunning as she adds that she'd like to be informed as well. With a satisfied smile, the Highness declares that the matter is settled. She then commands a stunned Adolf to attend a shipboard party with Claire tomorrow night. The Highness explains with a smile that since Wells and his team are handling security, it's the perfect opportunity. Adolf warns Claire not to cause trouble, but she retorts that he shouldn't stir up any jealousy from other ladies. The Highness remarks on how well they get along, prompting them to furiously deny it in unison. The next day, a maid reminds Claire to prepare for the party, and she asks for Adolf's whereabouts. The maid explains Lord Adolf is delayed with the Marquis family, but will arrive shortly. A determined glint appears in Claire's eye as she realizes this is her chance. Free from her escort, Claire hums and twirls joyfully in a sunlit garden. She revels in her temporary freedom, feeling as though she has suddenly grown wings. She cheekily reasons that Adolf probably wants a break too, so she's actually doing him a favor. With a secret mission in mind, she heads to the Nostri library to search for something without his knowledge. Claire sits alone at a table in the vast library, poring over an open book. She looks at a picture of a griffin, wondering if the little one she once knew has grown up to be as impressive. Writing in a journal about her lost griffin, Stella, she vows to find her, recalling a man who once warned her that monsters are terrifying. Kya-a's sudden noise makes her jump, and she whirls around to ask, "Who's there?" A handsome, white-haired man with fangs and piercing blue eyes smiles charmingly and asks, "Me?" He introduces himself with a bright smile and a pointed finger, declaring his name is Sugar. Claire internally scoffs that it's definitely a fake name, just as a book reveals a definition for sugar. Sugar asks if she hates monsters, but Claire surprises him by admitting she finds them fascinating. Her eyes light up with hope as she wonders if she's found an ally who is friendly toward monsters. Claire recalls a man's harsh words describing monsters as weird, dangerous, and grotesque creatures that shouldn't exist. Sugar smiles, cheerfully asking if it isn't strange that such despised creatures continue to live on. Clenching her fist, Claire challenges him, asking if being hated makes one's existence strange. With a fiery look, she declares his way of thinking to be incredibly arrogant. Surprised, Sugar finds her anger on behalf of monsters strange, arguing that since they are useless and harmful, they shouldn't exist. Claire calls his view human arrogance, firmly stating that monsters have a right to live just like people. She continues her point, noting that humans hurt each other constantly, so they are not the only ones who bring harm. A fanged smile crosses Sugar's face as he muses on her belief that monsters and humans are equal. He mocks her ideals as pretty words from a fairy tale princess, questioning if she truly believes all life has equal worth. Twisting her logic, he suggests that if humans and monsters are the same, then harmful humans should disappear too. He continues that the world has no need for useless people or selfish criminals, does it? Pinning her against a bookshelf, he leans in close and challenges her, asking if she is someone the world needs. He tauntingly asks if he's made her uncomfortable, noticing her clenched fist. Surrounded by a blue aura, he gently lifts her chin, admitting he can't help but take an interest in certain people. A chibi version of Claire poses playfully in a captain's outfit on a sunny beach. The intense moment continues as he holds her gaze, his interest in her palpable. Releasing her, he says he will leave things as they are, but only for today. As he turns to go, a wary Claire questions the meaning behind his ominous today. He looks back with a knowing smirk, reminding her of tonight's shipboard party and telling her to enjoy herself. With a final wave, the mysterious white-haired man departs, his cape flowing behind him. Claire remains frozen, utterly shocked by his sudden departure and startling revelation. Snapping out of her daze, she reaches out and calls for him to wait. Stumbling in the empty library, she panics, wondering how he could have possibly known about the party. Realizing she's alone in the vast library, she confirms with a sinking feeling that he's gone. The terrifying realization finally hits her. The mysterious man knows who she is. An image of Sugar's knowing smirk lingers, a silent promise of future encounters. The scene shifts back to the palace, where a furious Adolf waits with a dark aura. Peeking from behind a door, Claire sees his rage and realizes she's in deep trouble. Adolf begins to scold her for disappearing alone, warning about increased monster sightings as she mentally braces for the lecture. When he asks about her strange look, she realizes with surprise that he sounded genuinely worried. Wondering if he's still angry about the market, she's caught off guard when he demands to know where she went. She nervously claims she was at the library, prompting a skeptical Adolf to note she isn't the bookish type. Taking offense, she defensively insists that she does, in fact, go to the library. She quickly lies that she was gathering information for the case, hiding her true purpose of researching monsters. Letting it go, Adolf asks if she'll stay put, and she agrees, saying she needs to prepare for the party. As he leaves, he gives a final, stern warning for her to stay in her room this time. Thud. Once the door closes, a small, triumphant smile appears on Claire's face. She wonders if he's becoming less strict, or perhaps just getting tired of watching her. Deciding she doesn't mind either way, her thoughts turn to the evening shipboard party. Dressed elegantly, Claire and Adolf make their grand entrance at the party together. While Adolf admires the ship, Claire notes its practical safety features, like fireproofed lamps. He remarks on her unusual perspective for a noble lady, which she accepts as a matter of course. Adolf dryly clarifies that his remark was not a compliment, earning an annoyed glare from Claire. Their exchange is cut short when a young man calls out, "Captain!" Two of Adolf's smiling subordinates greet him warmly, happy to see him again. The men excitedly tell Adolf they came to the party just to see him, as Claire watches from the side. Claire realizes, with surprise, that Adolf's admirers aren't just noble ladies, but his own men too. Figuring the reunion will take a while, she sees the perfect chance to slip away unnoticed. Deciding to make her escape, she begins to flee, but Adolf spots her and calls out for her to wait. She justifies her departure by thinking she'd be in the way, as one of the officers tries to brief a distracted Adolf. Walking away from the crowd, Claire internally admits she didn't expect Adolf to be so popular. She had assumed his strict nature would make his subordinates resent him, but now realizes they must truly respect him. A warm image shows Adolf's subordinates smiling brightly, a testament to their genuine affection for him. As Claire walks by, one noble lady points her out to another, identifying her as Claire Carter, while Claire wistfully wonders when she'll see everyone again. The two ladies giggle, whispering about how lonely Claire looks after being ignored by Lord Adolf. Annoyed, Claire inwardly scoffs that she doesn't care whether he talks to her or not. She notices other nobles gossiping about her, frustrated that after a brief moment of sympathy, they're back to trash-talking her. Irritated by another lady's stare, Claire decides she needs to move before she loses her temper. Oh, as she tries to walk away, another woman deliberately trips her, sending her stumbling forward. Thud Claire crashes hard onto the polished floor of the ship. Two ladies whisper about how embarrassing her fall was, as a third woman approaches the fallen Claire and asks, "Oh my!" With a mocking smile, the woman who tripped her gives a fake apology and accidentally pours a drink over Claire's head. Drenched and humiliated, Claire thinks sarcastically that the woman simply slipped. Claire sits dejectedly on the floor, her elegant dress and hair soaked from the deliberate spill. The brown-haired woman in the blue dress stands over her, smirking victoriously. Glaring up from the floor, a furious, dripping Claire locks eyes with her tormentor. She pushes herself up, ready to confront the woman who humiliated her. Claire sarcastically asks the woman if tripping people and spilling wine on them is a new form of party etiquette. The woman smugly replies that as a new debutante, Claire wouldn't understand the unspoken rules of high society. The woman explains it's about teaching those who don't know their place, causing Claire to realize why she's been a target. The brown-haired woman states that everyone likes Adolf-sama, then asks Claire condescendingly if she doesn't agree. The woman gushes that he is the dream of every lady. While clenching her fist, Claire questions the words, "every lady." The woman continues praising Adolf's good looks, unmatched sword skills, and numerous military achievements. She excitedly recounts a famous battle from a past war where Adolf ensured none of his soldiers died. Claire internally recalls that this was the very war that earned Adolf the prestigious title of Hero Knight. Giddy with admiration, the woman prepares to share another amazing fact about Adolf. Cutting her off, Claire thinks irritably that the woman talks far too much and wonders if she's the same type as Her Highness. The brown-haired woman snaps at Claire, demanding to know if she's even listening. Annoyed by Claire's disinterest, the woman insists she listen to more of Adolf's achievements, while a weary Claire thinks, "This is still going on?" The woman describes how Adolf bravely rescued 800 passengers from a ship under attack, ensuring their safe return. Processing the information, a pensive Claire simply says to herself, "I see." She reflects on the nature of a ship, thinking of it as a sealed room at sea, an inescapable place. She muses that even her own father, an experienced seaman, would find such a situation challenging. A hint of admiration appears on Claire's face, as she admits to herself that Adolf truly is strong. The brown-haired woman concludes her tirade by declaring that a nameless lady like Claire is not worthy of the honorable hero knight. After a stunned moment, Claire calmly thanks the woman for the very long and detailed explanation. Unfazed, Claire tells the shocked woman that she couldn't care less about being worthy or not. She calmly states that she doesn't mind the gossip or being tripped, but there's one thing she won't forgive. Her expression turns fierce as she declares she can't forgive the woman for dirtying the magnificent ship with such petty harassment. Glancing at the crew, Claire thinks of the hard work they put into preparing the stage. With fiery eyes, Claire accuses the woman directly, "You've ruined it." Two nearby crew members look on, touched and impressed by Claire's defense of their work. The brown-haired woman's face contorts with rage, her golden eyes flashing furiously at Claire's defiance. As tensions peak, Adolf suddenly appears behind Claire, his presence halting the confrontation. The brown-haired woman calls out to Adolf, trying to justify her actions, but he looks past her, thinking he had hoped Claire would wait quietly. Adolf gently gets Claire's attention, causing her to look up at him with a start. Averting her eyes, Claire sheepishly apologizes for the commotion. She then cheekily adds that it's partly his fault, gesturing toward him as her tormentor looks on, stunned. The brown-haired woman seethes in silence, enraged by Claire's audacity. She internally fumes, despising Claire for acting so high and mighty when she's just a merchant-like noble. The brown-haired woman declares that to Adolf-sama, Claire is an insignificant woman, as he internally agrees with her assessment. Holding Claire protectively, Adolf warns the woman that Claire is not a lady she can handle, advising her to back off. As the stunned woman protests, Adolf calmly leads Claire away from the scene. On the deck, Adolf sighs that she caused a commotion the moment he looked away, but Claire retorts that they started it. He asks if she can't just avoid fights when provoked, and she bluntly states that it's impossible. Looking at the night sky, she smiles peacefully and points out the beautiful stars, telling him to calm down. As she gazes at the sky, a black-gloved hand reaches ominously toward her neck from behind. Startled, she turns as the hand gently makes contact. She finds herself looking up at Adolf, whose intense gaze meets hers as she questions his actions.